Greetings, Grosse Pointe South baseball alumni, family, friends. We are here to discuss the third now annual Grosse Pointe South Baseball Hall of Fame event. Dan Griesbaum Jr. here with Dan Griesbaum Sr. And we are very excited for our third class, which will include the 2001 Division I baseball state champions. Also, Edward Nett, who was class of 1933, and Tom Temrowski, who was class of 1979. We will be celebrating all of these individuals at Assumption Cultural Center on January 23rd, coming up at what is sure to be a great event. Namely, today we want to talk about the 2001 state champions. We will actually break this into a couple of different segments. Today we want to concentrate mostly on the players themselves, and in a future video we'll talk a little bit more about their magical run to the state championship. But first of all, that group from 2001, what comes to your mind initially when you think back to that team and the players themselves?
Well, obviously, the leading player on that team was Chris Getz. He played shortstop for us. Came off his sophomore year where he hit over 500. Had another excellent year his junior year. And not only played a great shortstop, but was our leading hitter. He had 12 saves, which when you've got a guy you can put in the game that throws 90 miles an hour in a save situation, you know you're going to be in pretty good shape. We had several really good players on that team. Mark Pepler, center field, Mike Hackett at third base, Chad Golke was in the outfield and pitched, Matt Middleton, pitcher, Sean McLeod, the catcher. All those guys basically hit over 300. Had some nice players in the outfield as well. Pat Michaels, again, Chad Golke played right, Pepler in center, Michaels in left. We had Hackett at third, Getz at short, Johnny Halpin at second, as well as Jordy McKenzie, who switched off a little bit in the infield. Played short when Getz pitched, and McKenzie played second as well. We had Andrew Vlasic, had a great year that year. Was 10-0 pitching wise with a 1-point-something ERA. Matt Middleton won 6 games. Chad Golke 4. Getz won 3. So it was a pretty talented group overall. We had some real good backup players as well. As I mentioned, McKenzie, Tommy Yankee, Todd Loringer, Andrew Scavone backed up Sean McLeod catching wise. Danny Keogh as a sophomore helped out in the infield as well. Taylor Morawski came up toward the end of the year, ended up in limited appearances, came up during the playoffs. Actually, it was 3 for 6. Just had a lot of Derek Stevens.
Paul Stevens.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Derek. Paul Stevens.
Derek owns a casino.
Derek owns,
also
yeah.
A Grosse Pointe South guy, but
right.
a little older than Paul.
Yeah. Paul Stevens. I think I remember just about everybody. We had Ian Milhouse, Chris DeRozier, Andrew Scavone. Just a great group of guys.
Yeah, definitely a well-rounded, deep team. I guess thinking back even, prior to that, when these guys were younger, just the era of South baseball itself, looking at, 1999, that was the year that the group went down to Tiger Town for spring training. And this core group that eventually was the 2001 state champions, they were down in Lakeland, Florida with the group in 1999, mostly on JV. As that group. Do you remember, obviously you're thinking mostly about the varsity at that time, but do you remember having any thoughts about that younger class and what maybe they had the potential to become?
Well, just that they were a pretty talented group. I mean, we saw that when we went down there. Obviously, you were a senior then, Charlie Braun, Teddy Swarthout, a lot of other really good players from 99 in that group. We did a lot of scrimmaging in that group. They held their own. They hung around, and we knew that they were going to be a pretty good group when they got to be juniors and seniors.
Yeah, definitely. I think Well, Andrew Vlasic was on the varsity, I believe, already at that point. Left-handed pitcher.
Right.
Played some outfield, some first base. Actually, was the MVP in 2001. I think most people, not incorrectly necessarily, but most people assume that it might have been Chris Getz. The MVP was actually Andrew Vlasic. What do you remember specifically about Pickle, as we called him, as a player, both on the mound and?
Well, again, Andrew was not overpowering. Just had great control, didn't walk anybody. Had great off-speed pitches, could throw it when he needed to, whenever he needed to. He was just one of those great lefties, like we had this year in Jack Danielewicz, and we'll have back again in 26. Vlasic was just a great left-handed pitcher in high school. Just got people out, and as I said, he getting the ball over the plate, throwing strikes, mixing pitches up. He was great at that. And,
went on to pitch at Hope, was it?
Yes, he pitched at Hope. Had a nice career there.
His father did a little coaching.
Yes, he
program.
did. Yeah, Dave freshman level. Yeah.
Yep. This group kind of built around three starting pitchers for the most part. Number two pitcher being Middleton. What do you remember specifically about him?
Middleton was just a bulldog. He didn't have a great record his junior year. He didn't have a great record, but he also pitched against a lot of really good teams. And he was 5-6 going into the state championship game against Grand Ledge, and just lights out. He just pitched a great game against a team that had 6 all-staters, I believe, second and first team, of course, but had 6 all-staters, and he basically shut them down. And only giving that team 1 run was just a phenomenal accomplishment. He just had a great, great game.
Also played some first base.
Yes, he did.
Some pop in the bat. And then Chad Golke as the number 3 pitcher.
Chad won 4 games and played a good outfield. Hit
cleanup hitter.
Clean up, upper 3, low 4s, whatever it was. Had a great year as well.
And then, of course, that rare weapon in high school, being able to bring someone on the mound to nail it down in the 7th inning, especially someone with a 90-plus mile-an-hour fastball at that time, which in 2001 was, I think, a lot more rare than maybe in 2026.
Absolutely.
But Chris Getz being able to come in and throw that fastball and mix in a curveball here and there. What was it like having that weapon?
Well, it's just very comforting. Obviously, as a coach, gets close toward the end, you put him in there. And Chris, I knew, was not going to pitch in college or anything like that. And a lot of people might have thought, wow, why don't you start him? The guy's throwing 90 miles an hour. So I didn't want to do that to him. Scouts came to see him play shortstop. And Chris never threw any more, I don't think, than 2 innings at a time, if that. Most of the time he was coming in, like in the state championship game, you got men on base, 1 out, maybe last inning, something like that, or just throwing them in the last inning to shut things down. And it was obviously, as I said, very comforting as a coach to be able to have that kind of a weapon.
Sure. Typically, championships build up the middle, and there were some solid defensive players throughout. Talk about Sean McLeod behind the plate, which, fun fact, the last player to wear number 30 besides myself.
Right, exactly.
Goes all the way back to Sean McLeod.
Yeah, Sean was very good behind the plate, called a great game back there. It was very solid blocking, nice arm. Just did a great job of handling our pitchers, especially with Vlasic and Middleton, Golke as well. Just did a great job with them, and he was very solid back there behind the plate. And they went on to play a little bit at Glen Oaks, I believe it was.
Right. And then we talked about Chris Getz, obviously an all-state type talent at shortstop. How about John Halpin at second base?
Johnny Halpin was just solid. Not a flashy player by any means, just very solid, didn't make any errors, made the plays, turned the double play. Just, as I said, just one of those players that made the routine play all the time. And then Jordy McKenzie also helped us out in the infield as well.
Well, Jordy's big role, of course, going to shortstop when Chris pitched.
Exactly. Right.
Having to, and it's not easy to come off the bench cold just to play the seventh inning at shortstop.
Right.
And then I think another memorable moment with Jordy was actually the next year in 2002 in the district championship game, down to our last out against North, got a base hit to tie the game in that game, which. He had a little bit of a bigger role maybe on that team because Halpin had graduated.
Right.
I think he played second base pretty regularly on that team. But and then of course in center field, one of the team leaders, high level performer, Mark Pepler.
Right. Pep was a great athlete, solid player on the football team.
All state in football and baseball, I believe.
Yeah. Played a great center field. We'll talk about, again, the state championship stuff later, but had the key base hit in this championship game, and then came around to third on a pickoff attempt, and then scored the winning run on the suicide squeeze.
Yep, and one of the captains of that team, I believe.
Yep.
But very deep squad with a lot of good athletes. Another person that comes to mind that was, younger on that team and not quite broken through yet, but Taylor Morawski, just another great all-around athlete. Yeah,
Taylor had a great year on the JV that year, and obviously we didn't want to really bring him up because of McLeod. So he spent most of the year, just about all the year on the JV, but we wanted a little bit of help at bat for the playoffs, and we used him. We basically said to Matt, look, why don't you just pitch and we'll let Taylor DH in that championship game, and Taylor had a big hit in that game.
So another, I believe, all-state football player,
yes,
I think.
Yes.
But another great all-around type of an athlete on that squad. Certainly some, contributors all around the diamond there. Mike Hackett, obviously. Mm-hmm. Remembered for the game-winning RBI in the state championship game, which we can talk about more later, but also, college-level baseball player, Florida St. Leo and Adrian College, and of course, son of longtime coach Sean Hackett as well. What do you remember just purely as a player about Mike?
Yeah, Mike, again, very solid at third base. Excellent hitter, just all around. I believe he hit 360 that year, if I recall. And real solid in terms of his infield play. Very, very rarely ever made an error.
Throughout, it's harder for me to remember personally because I was in college playing at the time and really didn't get home until the postseason. But during the regular season that year, do you recall seeing these pieces coming together in a manner where you thought you could contend for the state championship? Yeah,
well, we started out kind of shaky. We won the first few games, but then there was a time we were 4-6. And I think that group right after that won 12 out of the next 14. And we saw some definite capability there in terms of this team could get hot at the end, like state championship teams need to do. They need to be hot
Sure.
at the end. And that's what this team did. We went into the districts confident, and again we'll talk about the state games later, but they had to come from behind, and it really showed their character. And I think 5 out of the 6 games actually they had to come from behind,
right,
in the playoffs. So.
Right, yeah, pretty remarkable. And the state tournament has a tendency to be that way. I think the 2018 one maybe being the anomaly where there was a bunch of blowouts and it was just felt relatively surreal, I think, because of that. But
and let's not forget, we always have had to get by North.
Sure.
And the North game was a tough one. We only won that one 3-0. So
right.
Always having to get by our district it's a difficult thing to do year in and year out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So much of this group went on to the 2002 season as well. Obviously, if you win a state championship and you have something of a core coming back, you start to think about winning it a second time. in reality, there's only been one team that's won back-to-back Division One
Right.
state champions,
Bay City
which
Western, yeah.
Bay City Western, which we were on the wrong end of that in 2014. But it's almost impossible to do. This group certainly had a chance, though, and you know, I think, you know, maybe if a couple bounces one way or the other, maybe could have done that again.
Yeah, against Warren Mott. Warren Mott was a very good team that year. Had several good players, and you know, I believe that was a regional, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah,
regional final.
Regional final.
Yeah.
They went on to be runner-up that year. So, yeah, but that was a excellent group in '02. But you know, the playoffs again was single limb, as you know, anything can happen. And in the Mott game, it did. A couple breaks that have gone our way, we could have been back to the Final Four again.
You know, it's all luck of the draw stuff too. You know, I think Middleton had to beat De La Salle, I think, in the first game that day. Whereas I think Mott had a lesser opponent maybe in their game.
Yes, they did.
Were able to save more of their pitching and just had a little bit of a better matchup in that regard. But certainly the core of the team back again gets, of course, at the top of that list. And you know, Murawski and you know, Middleton, of course, and then a lot of those same guys going on to the Final Four again in 2003.
Right. Well, and Middleton that year did make All-State along with Getz.
Right.
Middleton had a much better year record-wise, even though again he pitched great his junior year, just didn't get necessarily the support that he may have gotten his senior year. But he had another great year.
Another one of those, I think we've had actually a lot of these types of pitchers over the years where they didn't really get a lot of attention from colleges necessarily because they didn't have that high-level fastball, you know, especially a right-hander like Matt. You know, he's not tall, he's not lanky, he doesn't fit a lot of those right-handed stereotypes that scouts seem to look for. But ultimately, when it came down to it, if you needed to win a game, it's hard to pick.
Oh, there's not too many people I can think of in my career at South that I would have rather had on the mound in a key game than Matt Middleton.
Right.
And again, he didn't throw super hard, just was a bulldog competitor. Just wanted the ball, wanted to be out there. He hated to come out, hated to come out of the game. And he was just phenomenal for us that year, obviously, as well as the year before.
Let's touch on the assistant coaches real briefly. First, John Hackett, of course, his coaching tenure was much longer than just this era. I think started in the late 80s at one time, and then after a break came back again, but has been with the program for 30 years?
Basically about 30 years.
Yeah, as a pitching coach, was a left-handed pitcher himself in the Pirates and Cardinals organizations, also on probably the best team in the history of Grosse Pointe at Grosse Pointe North, 1980-81.
Yes.
What do you remember about John, starting from when he was a player, even throughout his coaching career itself?
Well, again, as a player, first of all, John was a very good pitcher at North, but they had, as you know, 5 players from that 1980 North State Championship team that went on to sign pro contracts. Bill Babcock, Bobby Brown, Johnny Clem, John Hackett, and I'm forgetting, Tommy Shook.
Shook, yeah.
What a great squad they had, 80, 81.
Talk about teams that could have won back-to-back but didn't.
No
I mean,
doubt.
it's certainly the top of that list. But.
Yeah, North lost 2-1 to Gallagher on a home run. The gentleman recently passed away, Mike Stevenson. Hit one over the left field fence. We lost 2-1. Gallagher went on to win the state.
Yeah.
So,
two best teams in the state facing each other in the district.
Right.
2 years in a row.
2 years in a row. Yeah. And Hackett was a great pitcher on that team, but probably took second fiddle to Babcock, who signed with the White Sox. So,
I believe Hack was on the mound for the last out. I believe the state championship.
Yeah. Then Hackett went on to play at Macomb first, and then Birmingham Southern, where he excelled there, and then also again played minor league ball. So,
How about as a coach? What do you see as his assets over the years as a coach?
Well, John is just knows so much about the game, so much about pitching. I could not have accomplished anywhere near uh, what we've accomplished at South without him. He's just done a tremendous job with our pitchers, and he just gets better and better. And again, looking forward to another big year with John as our pitching coach, because he just does a tremendous job, and he's a tremendous person as well.
Another individual who's unfortunately passed away in this case, but Coach Moak.
Coach Moak, 54 national champions
I think so at Michigan.
at Michigan, played second base. Just quiet wisdom. You know, he just had just a great way about him, great way of getting the message across to the team, very calm demeanor in which he did that. Just really appreciated his knowledge and experience with the game. Really helped us out tremendously.
Now his history with Grosse Pointe Schools was that of an administrator, correct?
Yes, he first of all was in fact he was instrumental in hiring me back in 1979. He and Bruce Feigner were the principals at the time at North and South, and he was instrumental in hiring me into the district when I first got in 1979.
Yeah, and I don't remember exactly, but I want to say he was a South assistant from approximately what was it, maybe 97 through early 2000s.
Right, it wasn't that long. It's probably about 5-6 years.
Yeah. And then the head JV coach at the time, but came up at the end of the year, Mark Orr, certainly a overall memorable person to say the least.
Yes.
Anyone who's ever met Mark certainly remembers Mark.
I remember Mark when I played, because he played for Oakland Tool back on the Sandlots and the Adway League and so on, and I was playing for Lock Lumber at the time, and we played against each other. He went to Western, I went to Central. He was drafted by the Tigers, decided to go to Western. Was a great player, left-handed hitting outfielder, and again, very knowledgeable about the game, and was our JV coach for many years.
Not necessarily a favorite of all the umpires, perhaps a vocal individual.
Mark loved to tell the umpires what he thought. Always, respectful, but he let them know when he felt they were wrong.
Definitely. Well, there's plenty to talk about with this 2001 group, to say the least. We will certainly be back again to tell the rest of the tale from that magical 2001 year, and we certainly hope that all of you can join us at the big event on January 23rd at Assumption Cultural Center. It will be a great event. We've had 2 of these already. They were both fantastic, awesome stories, hilarious stories in many cases. A lot of great socializing with people from the history of the Grosse Pointe South baseball program, and this will be certainly no exception. Anything else you'd like to add for right now?
No, I'm just really looking forward to this. I haven't seen some of these players in 25 years, and it's really going to be a tremendous evening. Looking forward to it so much, and hope that all of you can get there. It's going to be a real memorable evening, no doubt in my mind.
Yeah, it certainly seems like this. Some of the early 2000s grads, just the nature of how the economy locally was, a lot of them moved away, after graduating college. And
Right.
I think we have almost everyone committed to coming back.
Yeah, there's basically only, believe 2 or 3 players that could not make it back. So we're looking forward to seeing about 90-95% of the players that were on that team.
Which will include Chris Getz, of course, who's now the general manager of the Chicago White Sox. He will be in attendance, as well as MC Ryan Armani from Fox 2 and WJR and other entities here locally. He was class of 97 South baseball also.
Mm-hmm.
We'll be there to tell some of the stories, but we're certainly looking forward to it and hope you all can join us. Thanks. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.